Okay, so we're going to start our very first water budget presentation. I know it's getting late, so hopefully I can make this quick. So I've provided everybody with a package as well as 3 colored sheets. The green is being the Cobden water, pink is Beechburg, and blue is Haley's. Okay, so I'll refer back to these sheets as the presentation is going on. Oh, there's an error right there, I saw that. 2016. Okay, so 2015 year end for water. We started our year with a surplus of $42,595. And at the end of the year, we had a combined deficit for all 3 water plants in the amount of $46,684. So when you start your surplus, you minus your deficit, then you still end up with a year-end deficit of $4,089. Okay. Now the breakdown of the deficit for 2015 is as followed. So on your sheets, on each one of your sheets, you will see on the bottom of the 2015 actual values, way on the bottom will show you what each plant had, either a deficit or a surplus. Now, Beechburg Water was the only one with a surplus. One of the main reasons that Steve and I have found that contributed to the deficit, obviously, is for Cobden, would be the amount of revenue. So if you look on your green sheet, okay, your revenue, we budgeted a revenue of just a little over $362,000. And our revenue came in, our actual values, at just a little over $351,000. So right there we've lost revenue, and that could be such as waters being shut off, apartment buildings that are vacant that want their water shut off, some companies that are no longer running, their water is shut off. If you go down to one of the major expenses is the contract, is the Aqua contract. We budgeted at $194,000. The actuals came in at $236,000. Okay, because what that is from is we had a reconciliation period from 2014 that we didn't receive until May of 2015. So that technically is part of the reconciliation from 2014, but we have to budget in 2015 because we have to pay it. Now you scroll down, nothing extraordinary really stands out. We did have, there's a little bit of extras that Aqua had spent in miscellaneous. Equipment repairs, we budgeted $11,000. It came in at $14,000. So that is just basically things that I spoke to Steve about it, just to clarify. When Aqua presents us with their estimates, we allocate where they go, such as whether it be building or equipment, and those are just estimates. He did say that a lot of the times things do happen at the plant, and they do have to advise Steve if anything's over $1,000. So then they would send Steve off a memo stating that they need this certain piece, and Steve signs off. So then that doesn't become in the budget. That is not previously budgeted for, so that becomes an extra expense. So that's kind of where the deficits fell. And I know that in 2015 when we did the budget, in our Cobden water, we budgeted for a surplus of a little over $26,000. And at that point, I know there was discussion around the table, and it was informed to council that we can budget for a surplus, which we did, and we can give that projected surplus to Haley's, which we did, but if there was no budget, if there was no budget surplus, then we would have to deal with that this year, and unfortunately that's the case.
Can I go ahead and ask a question?
Yeah.
I guess I can.
Yeah.
Nobody's saying no?
No.
Just on the 2014 reconciliation under contracts, that's about a $40,000 difference in the contract. So is that just wages, or what is that?
That's not just that's not the full amount. Like, they could have come in with their extras throughout the year as well for 2015. That's not wages, that's extras going out to the plants. That's extras going out, like, to the Cobden plant alone. That could be breakdowns there that they have to go out after hours and fix. Kind of all those things that would play into running of the plant.
Because that just top of the mind, 20% difference on a couple $100,000. That's really significant. Everything else on it is probably chicken scratch compared to that one line item, right?
And we always have to remember that Aqua, we didn't have a full year with Aqua until 2014 was our very first full year with Aqua. So they're getting to know our plants also. You know, Steve, I talked to Steve about it, and going forward, I think maybe we'll have better numbers from them because now they know what we need. They know what our plants are capable of, what they're not capable of. So they're going to provide us with better numbers as the years go by. I mean, we have a contract with them till 2018. So, you know, a year or two to get comfortable, this might be the reason why. I don't have a specific answer other than that.
I guess my question is are we going to be faced with the same sort of thing come 2016, or is there anything in the contract that they need to bring any outstanding invoices by a certain time? To have 5 months outstanding and not get the bill until then for the previous year is too late.
Yes. I agree. Steve and I spoke, and we're going to get a hold of Dara and ask him if they can provide it kind of at the year end. Now, Steve did explain that it's tough for them to get all their financials together, but they're going to have to do something. They're going to have to help us out in some way. Now, we just received ours for 2015, but I've already allocated those amounts in here into the new 2016. But because I received the invoices now, which is a lot earlier than last year. So if they can do that, I'm fine with that, if I can get them before the budget. But I will definitely recommend that.
It'd be nice to get them before the year end, which is, you know, the
so we can
auditors come in about February. But certainly before budget talks would be the second best.
Yes.
So what you're saying, Marcia, there will not be any more
reconciliations for 2016, no.
No, in 2000 we won't be hit with that big number again.
No, I've received
because you're putting both in this budget?
Yes.
Okay. So that should reduce any increases that have to be done next year.
For next year, yes. So as I explained, we did budget for a surplus in the Cobden water, $26,193, which didn't happen, which means then Haley didn't have that surplus to go towards their budget and help with their rate. Now what I've done, such as I have in the past, I've just listed some of the major repairs, equipment that Aqua has provided Steve with. So basically, and I've separated that out into each of the plants, so Cobden, Beechburg, and Haley's. So in the equipment repair and supplies, we're looking at a combined $63,250 budget, but that's broken down to Cobden at $49,000, Beechburg Water at $9,250, and Haley's, a pump analyzer is one of their biggest, and that's $4,800. Now again, these numbers do come from Aqua. Now the building repairs and maintenance also comes from Aqua, and we're budgeting $12,000 between the 3 plants. And I've listed them there what the dollar figure for each of them are going to be. Now you will see that they do budget for, it's called general asset protection. And that's just basically a buffer in case something happens. It's kind of like a miscellaneous that I know Hal doesn't like, but that's what it is. So if you do see general asset protection, it's basically to protect the assets if anything does happen, that they have money sitting there in case. Sure.
sorry, just backing up to the major expenses of 2015, so would we find those buried in the actual budgets? So Cobden of being, what, $49,000?
Guess I should have changed that to 2016. I'm sorry. The title
These
should be
are
2016.
Okay, sorry, good, I'm clear.
So that all should be changed to 2016. Okay, so the continued expenses, one of the projects that didn't get done, and that was in Beachburg, and that was the aquifer study. It got late in the year, so what we've done this year is we've put it on this year's budget, and Steve, it's already underway now. So, and just to recap, last year's budget, we suggested that it comes out of the Ottawa River Power Corporation Reserve. So I'm assuming that that's still going to stay. And then again, for miscellaneous, they do have, now this one is called for emergency repairs on the Aqua list. So I don't have a definition of exactly what those emergency repairs are, if they have anything in their mind, but right now that's what they budgeted for. So any discussions up to this point? Oh. No, that's okay. Try and go quick.
My comment is we're over by 44,000. It's on. Our budget is out by $44,000 from what we budgeted. That concerns me greatly, as does it concern Councillor Olmsted and everybody else in here, because what I'm just shuddering thinking what's going to take place when we get to the Haley Townsite budget, like, pause in the cause. Moved by Charlene Jackson, seconded by Chris Olmsted, be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region agree to extend the meeting of March 23rd past 9 p.m. All those in favor? Carried.
Now Hal, sorry.
And now to finish that, I do know we have to present what we have, and it has to have a point of where we start, but it just, I had to say that, it was just driving me.
No, and you have to realize too that Cobden was the only one that didn't have any water increases. Council didn't increase the water rates for Cobden. So having a 0% increase, you know, doesn't help when there's unexpected costs that come up throughout the year. So just going forward, maybe just keep that in mind.
Also, if it might be helpful, certainly Steve could arrange for Aqua to come in and, you know, give you a fulsome explanation of that overage, so that it was understood. I'm not going to guess at it, but the difficulty is when things go wrong, they have no choice but to correct them immediately, with it being the nature of water. But certainly we could have a representative from Aqua come in and explain to you fully what the overages are.
Councillor Jackson.
I think the biggest issue is, like Marcia said, 2014 was the first full year that they had the contract. So I can see where perhaps their budget wasn't exact because they weren't quite sure what the plant all involved, but I would expect that 2015 year end wasn't as bad as what, like that bill. Was it over? Was it $40,000 over the contract, or do you know?
I don't know that. I don't have the exact number here, but I will certainly, when I get back to my office, I'll email you all the bill.
And I think depending on that number, now that they had the 1 year under their belt and into the second year, I think if it's anything over 20 grand, then we need some explanations.
Yes.
But, you know, failing that, I think the 2014 year would be a test year.
question here. On this, Haley's, it says, conference and trade show, $160. Like, why would we have to pay for that?
See, what happens is, years ago, council decided to put all of the kind of waters together as one. Not build them, like just build them separately still, but take the, basically, say they go to a conference. So say Steve goes to a conference. He would allocate a certain percentage to Haley's, a certain percentage to
Okay, so
water,
this is
to
the-
Cobden.
this-
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
you mean
These are just expensive. Well, Steve would go, just say Steve would go to a conference,
yeah,
then we would bill a certain amount
okay, all
towards
right.
water.
I didn't know who was going, so
Yes.
that's understandable. All right, got it. Thank you.
I just want to make a request, everybody, let's just, and that's a good question, but let's go Cobden, Beachburg, get through it so that because we've got delegations still out there. Yeah, just if you don't mind.
I could do this another day. Do you want me to do this another day?
Let's go through it quick so
Okay.
we have it.
Okay, so there's background on the water billing. The rates that I took were the numbers basically, these are the numbers from the last water billing in December, okay? Just wanted to provide this to council. So we did lose a home in Haley Station. It used to be 33. That was the one that burned. So I just put up here your current water rates for council to see and provide, okay? Now, what I've done, if you look at the green sheet, what I've done was I've worked hard to make it as close and as little increases as I could do. That's our proposed revenues. We have a deficit from 2015. Okay, so I've allocated 49% of that deficit to Cobden. And there's my proposed expenses. So with the budget that's in front of you, I am looking at a 5% rate increase on the Cobden water. Now remember, there was 0 last year. So it will be a 5% increase.
That's acceptable.
Okay? Now,
That's good.
so switch over. The Beachburg water, now they had the surplus, okay? But however, they had a surplus, but combined the water, we still had the 4,089 deficit. So what I did was, so there's your proposed revenue, which is on the top here for Beachburg. Our deficit, and I allocated 48% of the deficit to Beachburg. And our proposed expenses, that would give me a balance of 0 with a 2% rate increase. So last year they had 18.5166%, so I think they'll be happy with a 2% increase. But if you look, the transfer to reserve line, they will get a there'll be $41,138.64 transferred to reserve. Now, yes, you're right, we can give them a 0 increase, okay? But that's not the way, yeah.
No, we can't afford to do that.
That's right. And this will be able to put $41,000 into the reserves, into the water reserves, which is, the goal is to try and put some money in reserves.
Councillor McLaughlin and Councillor Jackson.
Marcia, is that taking into effect the decrease from the medical center?
Yes.
Okay, that was
Yes.
about a $5,000.
It was about a little under 4, I believe, Daryl. I
Okay.
have the number.
Okay,
yeah,
but about a
little bit,
$4,000. So that would be $4,000 that would have been put on there no matter what, because that was already decided to be decreased. I think in my discussions, I had said to you, I think that money, that shortfall, should have come out of the Ottawa River Power Corporation money rather than being put onto each one of the ratepayers.
And that's a discussion that council could certainly have.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that needs to be one thing that should be addressed, but you
Okay.
follow ahead.
Okay.
Councillor Jackson.
I guess I see here in your Beachburg water had a surplus of 13,139. However, we didn't transfer to reserves the $8,333 in the actual. So their surplus, if we had have transferred what was budgeted for, would have only been
Yeah, that's right.
$5,000
right.
sort of thing.
Yeah. And I asked Will why he didn't want to transfer any, and he says because the way that the past council wanted was all as one.
Yes,
So
as far
he didn't-
as
that's
the
why he
surplus
did it.
deficit,
Yes.
it would have increased the deficit overall by $8,000.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I guess the same thing could happen if we budget to transfer to reserves 41,000. It could also, a portion of it, but I think that has to come back to council as a decision by the end of the year
Oh,
to see
absolutely.
how that's
Yeah.
going to go, so that whether or not we do that, I know Will didn't transfer it, but it was budgeted for.
Yeah.
So we have to be careful of that, because you do need to build up your reserves. But yeah, I think a 2% is good as well.
Now to the next one. So, this one was a little bit, obviously, sad, but if you look at the 2015 column, so bear in mind, okay, 2015, all we brought in was just a little over $56,000 in revenue. So our contracts for Aqua alone were $50,000, and the debentures, the debt charges and the interest, the principal and the interest charges for the debentures, that alone was 25. So right off the bat, those two big expenses is over $75,000. Haley's can't support that. Haley's can only bring in $56,000. So it does have to come to council and decide what we're going to do in future. So obviously, with just showing council exactly what it cost to run that plant and what the budget figures were that was provided to me, it looks right now at a 62% increase. Now, how do I get out of this? Okay, there we go. I just want to, yes? Last year was 103.
So hopefully, to be clear here, at this point in time, we're not proposing
No.
a 62%
No.
increase. I want to make that crystal clear
That's right.
that nobody is proposing a 62% increase. That is what would be required to operate at net zero.
That's right.
I think we need to be very creative in coming up with solutions, but I want to be crystal clear in that nobody is proposing a 62% increase to the residents of Haley's. Okay?
Yeah, that's totally correct, Councillor Olmsted. We definitely have to recircle the wagons here, because at this point, and in the delegation that was here, they brought to us the fact that 2016 costs should have been dropping from the original proposed plans, not going up by 26%. And then there's nobody sitting around this table that would even consider 62%. Nobody has even considered putting it up 26%. We're going to have to do something really, really correct here for those people. It's unbelievable that costs are such, but they can't handle that, and we can't enforce that on them. So we'll fix that somehow.
So what, I know we're getting busy or short for time here, but what I did speak to Councillor Jackson about was I had just kind of going to provide you some scenarios very quickly here.
Okay.
So up here, you don't have this sheet, okay, in front of you, but your blue sheet, if I took out the debt, sorry, that was, hold on, which one was that now?
Marcia, the contract is for 52,000 for, I'm presuming for Aqua's management?
Yes.
Yeah, that's one place we've got to really, really look at. Because that's a whole person's wages for that little utility.
Yes.
Now, you go ahead with what you were going to say.
And I don't know, to be honest with you, I don't know how they allocate their percentage.
It's probably the same way as we've been doing it. So much here, so much there, so much here.
Maybe, yes.
Yeah.
And I should find out, and I will, how exactly they proportion that. Could they maybe, if they don't really do anything in Haley's, could they budget more on the other two? But I know council wanted to see exactly what it cost the municipality, so
Yeah,
I've provided
we understand
exactly
that.
what it costs that. So what I did was, okay, I think I made a mistake here, but I kind of was just playing around with some numbers, and if we left this in now, because you have transfers of we're hoping to transfer $41,000 into reserves, okay? We could transfer out of reserves to help them of $24,000. This is just a suggestion. And then I took out the salary, okay? And then that would be about a 17% increase. So I know we're going to try and get it down even lower. So if you guys tell me which ones, like, I kind of went through this with Steve, and maybe some of the repairs they don't really need to do. Some of the building repairs at Haley's they don't really need to do. But we don't know that, and nor does Aqua. So I don't want to be hit then if I kind of scratch those numbers really low, but then all of a sudden they need something. And then I'm going to turn around and have to use that, unfortunately, the rate has to go up the following year. So if you kind of guide me into finding things that maybe you guys would like me to look at, some scenarios, I can put the numbers together and I can bring that one, especially Haley's. It sounds like you are comfortable with the other two.
I'm still very interested in figuring out that contract.
Yes, okay.
Because
I will
that's
definitely.
substantially off. Councillor Jackson.
I would agree with the transfer from reserves. I think that's a good idea to offset the debt charges. And I agree with Mayor Johnson with regards to finding out more details on the contract, on actually what they actually do for Haley's. Is it worth the $52,000? Not, are they allocating correctly? Is what I would like to know. I'd like to know the equipment and repairs for 4,800 and the building repairs for 1,500, knowing that we only spent $51 last year and we budgeted 1,500. This is a reasonably new system in the last 5 years, I'm thinking.
10 years ago it was brand new. 2010.
Yeah.
So 6
2010.
years ago now, and there shouldn't be very many repairs that need to be done to the building or equipment. So are they being realistic with that? And I think they need to understand what those rates are. And I think between yourself and Steve and Christine, perhaps you can sit down with them to ask those questions. And then if you feel that you're not satisfied or whatever, and you want them to come to council, then bring them to council.
Okay.
But I think they need to answer for those
Yes.
expenses for sure.
Absolutely.
At this point, and I'll let Councillor Mackay talk to it in a minute, but at this point I think we have had our overall presentation, and we will say thanks, Marcia. We'll all be thinking of what we can do to help you, and probably be talking, Charlene for sure will be talking to you in the future, you and Christine. And go ahead, Councillor Mackay.
Is there any way we could turn that over to them people? Turn that system over to them? Let them run it?
Not legally.
Why not?
This is a law that says you can't do that.
Well, let's sell it to them. I bet you they'd be happy. I run my well, you run your well. It's quite, it's not rocket science. We should talk about that.
It's a nice idea, but there is a law that requires us to do this that is out there. Yeah, but it's... Anyway, let's move on. We have 2 closed sessions to get through. People have been waiting here for over an hour.
Once we sell it, we're not the owner.
So moved by Chris Olmsted, seconded by Darrell McLaughlin, be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region went into closed session under Section 2392 of the Municipal Act at 9:15, which gives us a 5-minute window to take a little break and get everybody in here.
Yeah, let's talk of water.
and it's for the purpose of litigation or potential litigation affecting the corporation of Township of Whitewater Region or local boards, including matters before the administrative tribunals. Counselor,
You are going to go back then to section
yeah.
12 after the closed session, is that the?
yes, that was the intention, sorry.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, close session.
Yeah, we'll wait till we're done here then. That's budget. All those in favor? Carried.